In our BW Foreign Affairs series and BW Defense series, we focus on the policies that impact India for better. And we speak to the leaders who have been in the helm of affairs, who have a global outlook, and who can comment and understand and also advise on the policy matters. Bringing in series, we have Ambassador Balkrishna Shetty. Let me introduce Ambassador Balkrishna Shetty to our viewers. He has been Indian ambassador to Sweden, Latvia, Bahrain, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Mauritius, and Gambia. Quite ambassadorial credential across the continent, sir. And his global outreach puts him and his perspective in much broader scale to make and understand advice on policies that impact India for better. Let me also add, he's also a chairman of IWAY, Chennai, promoting Indian companies and institutions in defense and aerospace sector. He's also a member of the Science, Indigenous Technology and Advanced Research Accelerator, known as SITARA, which is dedicated to promoting a technologically strong India. And so he's also part of a Ministry of External Affairs-led initiative, which is about delivering key lectures on foreign policy. So I welcome Ambassador Balkrishna Shetty on Business World and BW Defense. Let me begin by asking you, Ambassador Shetty, how do you see the defense capability and gap at the moment in India, based on your experience? And you also, when you compare your worldwide outreach experience in countries you have been as ambassador, please.
Thank you very much and good evening. I think to understand India's defense capability and the gaps, you must understand its geopolitics. I think, 30 years ago, we suddenly thought that it was end of history because the Soviet Union collapsed, but of course it doesn't end. And we are today at an inflection point. The geopolitical situation has changed dramatically. I'm talking not only about our neighborhood, the Middle East or Europe, but also about US leadership. And I think therefore these geopolitical changes have an impact on India and Indian security, both negative and positive. And I think it is this which is making us look to Atmanirbhar India, because there is nothing like being Atmanirbhar. And I think this government is very clear that there is no need to appear weak. You need to be strong and let others know that you're strong. And I think that's very, very important. And the last thing is that we say we're in the modern world, and the trouble with the modern world is that science and technology is rapidly changing, and they're changing not only our lives but our security. And these disruptive technologies, unless we have them, we will be in great danger. And therefore, this is a new world, and it's a world which is accelerating. And therefore, we need to keep, I think like Alice, we have to run as fast as possible to be at the same place. But I think we can be faster than that. Regarding gaps, I think there was a time when we wanted to appear, to put it very bluntly, goody-goody. Those days are over. And now that we are a declared nuclear power, number one, we are a space power, and we have no hesitation being a military power. What is taking place today, whether it's Atmanirbhar Bharat or anything, is part of making India strong, politically, economically, technologically, and militarily. And I think this is very important, that change in attitude, that we need to be strong, militarily strong, and therefore we need to fill in the gaps. And I must tell you that another approach, which I think after 90s, has been bringing in the private sector as partners. Early 90s was the beginning of our industrial change. We are now seeing agriculture change, but it is now bringing in the private sector as partners even in defense. We had long time, I think we had some hesitation, and therefore the government handled everything. The problem with the government handling everything is that government have to be cautious. It's public money, number one. Number two, you can't risk a lot of money on this. I think again, it's very important that we share some for agriculture, some for industry, some for education, some for so on and so forth. Number three, government being a government with all these committees and all that, because they have to be very clear and transparent. You should be doing things which are right and appear to be right. But a private sector can be nimble, and small scale industry can be very nimble, because they can focus small things. And I think what the government should be doing is not innovation at the lower level, but planning at the higher. That means encourage the private sector to innovate, all the startups and others, so that they build new ideas and new technologies. The government's job at the level of our DPSUs, level of the government companies, DRD and others, is to integrate them into useful systems for offense and defense. And I think therefore that focus should slightly shift, not to be worried about this electron small component, let the private sector do. They are more nimble. There are a lot of people with brains and all that. And when you're coming back from Europe and US, get that. But the government should be looking at it from a big picture. How do we integrate the new technologies that is coming in so that we are able to manufacture integrated systems? And here I'm very glad. Of course, there are some big private sector companies too, but we need the smaller ones who are nimble, but we need to give them experience. And here I think the hand-holding is a little bit necessary. And it's not just about India. All over the world, the governments know that you need to handhold, because it is in everybody's interest. Secondly, we are not talking of military-industrial complex. In fact, I think we have got over that fear. Military-industrial complex has been the source world over of new technologies. Why? Because necessity is the mother of invention. And what greater necessity can there be other than national security? And therefore, there is also the the dual use technologies, whether it's drones or anything. Any software can be used for good, or for fighting, or for defending. So I think we need not be, acutely worried about is it offensive, is it defensive? No. If it works, it works. Whether you use it for defense or you use it for attack. And we need not be afraid of attacking also.
Ambassador Shetty, just to quote you, you said the military, we need not be afraid of military technology, is coming up. It's military technology is a hub of innovation, because it pushes your boundary, something you create and you make, it has to be very robust, because it has to save life somewhere, or it has to kill also somewhere. In both ways, it has to be precise mechanism, it's a precise chemistry, a precise physics. But what we see in India, basically, the whole industrial complex, it's divided. You have one side dominated by the public sector defense undertakings, and then you have ordnance factory, which is also part of a public sector umbrella. And other side, you have a host of private companies, entities, which is struggling to come in terms as far as orders are concerned, as far as their stakes are concerned in the whole ecosystem market. Because to come into the defense market, you need a fixed order. Now, to fight for this order, basically, it's a very unbalanced area. How the equation will develop, and then comes the question of research and development. It involves a lot of money in defense, basically. How do you look at such complexity, specific to India, when it comes to developing a defense ecosystem?
Yeah. The fact that Indians are there in some of the large multinationals abroad in the area of defense shows that Indians can do the same work here. Why were they not doing it here? Because we were not encouraging it. We never really involved the private sector, whether it was for lack of, faith in their ability or faith in their trust and all secrets. I think all that is gone. I think today we are convinced that private sector can be. I think that is the message of the success of the 1991 industrial revolution for us. India missed the industrial revolution, but 91, let me tell you, is a big change. And we can see it now, how the private sector has developed. And I'm sure you will see that in the defense sector now that it is open, and now that this is important. And it is important because we see the situation outside not very good. We need to be alert, we need to be fast, and therefore, we need to work as a team. And the government is very clear, this government in particular is very clear that we should harness all the talent that is available. So I'm glad that the recent changes in defense policy, Atmanirbhar, these are, in fact, it's not about import substitution. Please, Atmanirbhar Bharat is not about import substitution. This is not about the 1950s and all that. It is really about India that can stand on its feet confidently, because we know now we have the brain power, we have the entrepreneurial ability, and we can work as a team, both government and the private. And the private sector can be quicker. And then, as I said, we need to change just a little bit about the approach of the government. Instead of having huge things all done by the government, split it up. Let the smaller ones handle it. It will create employment. It will encourage R&D, and it will be easy to manage. And they can be used both for defense and civilian. There is no difference between civilian and defense. A technology is a technology. And I think that has gone through. And therefore, I think this is very good. The same technology which can be used, say, in a jet, in a fighter jet, can be used somewhere else. And civil aviation, by the way, just the civil, India is now a booming market, civil aviation. And therefore, what can be used in an engine there can be used in an engine there. Of course, with some tweaking here and there, obviously. And the defense technology will give impetus to R&D research. Because when you have something dangerous in front of you, there's nothing like fear to start working. And I think also the atmosphere, I think the global atmosphere has changed, where people are ready to share technology. You know what I mean? Because earlier there were those restrictions. We said you can't buy this, you can't sell this, and all. But now there is a trust between India and its partners, because we have a spotless record, unlike some countries whom I don't want to mention, who misuse global rules and all that. India has a spotless record of keeping their word about what is to be done, how it should be done, whom to sell, all this stuff. So I think that is one thing which will be greater. The foreign companies, the foreign OEMs, foreign partners know that in India they have a reliable partner, and a partner who is not one who is going to create problems. Partner is the part of the solution. We'll make it easier for them. We are a big market, that's all fine. More than that, we'll make it easier and cheaper for them to produce like this. That is very important.
Ambassador Shetty, I understand you have a very high scientific background. You have written a book on mathematics. So you are very well placed to talk about the technological gap and quality of research, and also the applied side of the research that take place, especially in the area of military research in this country. We have one agency called DRDO, and you have been involved in a couple of scientific committees, in the country. Where do you see the lack? Is this a one big agency in the country that dominates the whole ecosystem and been unable to cope with the technological changes which is happening across the world? What can we do?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. But as I said, DRDO, HAL, BEL were the giants when India was looking inward, number one. And when we did not think our private sector had the capacity, both financial and technological, to do this thing. But today, the systems have changed. Even this question of technology. You can have this consortium approach. You can have a small set of companies which sell to each other. The ecosystem concept. Some of these big companies, whether in the private sector or in the government, I'm not talking of the government alone. We're talking about both private and they can act as seeds, and around it will be all the other companies. And we learned it from others. So I think this technological gap which you're talking about also is because the way we were taught in school. I will tell you, the whole thing has changed. Earlier it was learn by rote. You just did it because it is. I think you were told to do this. That's why we lack the design ability. That's creativity. Today the issue is problem solving, and not giving problems for solving, but you solve problems, and at the level of a young boy or a girl. And I think that mentality has come in, and now these startups are the result of that mentality, of the change in attitude of what education means. Science and technology is not about just learning some formula and all that. It is understanding the structure of the problem and solving it.
How
And
will sorry to interrupt you. Then
yeah,
when it comes to question of, we have one tier company. You said big defense public sector company from government, as well as you have say companies, first tier companies like say Lockheed Martin, Boeing. But what about those ancillary industry, the MSMEs of defense? They need hand holding. How we can scale up in MSME that
yeah.
everybody is asking, and the question is everybody mind basically. How will you ensure government ensure and facilitate that these MSME can come up and participate in defense activity, and sustain and also research and come up with the new products, new military equipments.
Yeah. First and foremost, I think it's about awareness of what is available outside. Thanks to internet, thanks to other communication means, now even small companies can have access to information which is earlier very, very difficult, if not secret. Today, it's very easy to contact people, number one. Number two, the ability to work together as a team. Again, thanks to communication technologies, it is easy to do that. You can outsource A, B, and C. Number three, it is no longer just manufacturing from the book which the supplier has given you. It is about how to improve that. And I think the defense acquisition policy one takes that into account, that you need to create certain things yourself. And if you do it, we are there to hold your hand, to guide you. And also the way the tenders are floated. I think it's a very small technical thing, but the tenders floating makes a lot of difference. How is it geared? Is it geared to only large companies? Is it geared to large and foreign companies? Is it geared to certain types of companies? So this makes a big difference in how small companies can build. And then the issue of leasing, the issue of financing. Small companies do not or cannot afford to take risk. Therefore, they will, instead of buying, they will lease. But some of the equipment are very expensive. So is it possible to get this certification and testing done by somebody else? Okay, can you lease those equipment? These are the new ideas which are coming into the market. And there were smaller chaps now have an opportunity. Instead of buying this heavy equipment and all the expensive equipment, which moment they buy, they go above the small scale level. So they lose the subsidies or the encouragement which the government gives, So therefore now by leasing, they are able to stick to the small scale stuff, but do those things which earlier could only be done by large companies. I don't want to mention the names and all that, but it's very clear that these new concepts, these new market elements have made it easier for smaller companies. The communication, the knowledge, the access, the financing, the startup funding, IDEX funding, whole lot of funding. These will make a difference.
Ambassador Shetty, I understand, you have been trying, in the same direction to bridge that gap within the industry in terms of the divide and distance between academia, the research, and the industry and the end service user.
Service user.
And you're coming up something which is called Center of Excellence. You establishing in India, which aims to sort of foster such a systematic engagement, especially in the field of defense and innovation. Could you tell us, our viewers, what exactly you're doing, and why do you call it Center of Excellence? What excellence will come out of this?
Yeah. Okay. We have two things. One is a Swango business portal, which is basically to link the maker, the user, and others. Number one. Number two, the Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence is something which focuses on certification after testing. It focuses on training. It provides guidance on where technology is available. It provides guidance on how to handle government projects, how to handle private sector projects. It gives access to information, access to training, including entrepreneurial. And the Center of Excellence we intend to have initially, of course, in one set in Telangana, in Hyderabad, where there is an aerospace cluster and all that. But we intend to have it also in Karnataka, for a good reason, in Bangalore. Again, it's a high-tech area. Then in Coimbatore, because Tamil Nadu has become the southern defense corridor, and then of course in UP, in Lucknow, because UP has become the northern defense corridor. But we start first with Hyderabad and then multiply. And number two, of course, our aim is for the private sector. Naturally, we will keep in the private sector, but along with the OEMs and the government, we are looking at PPP, really public-private partnership. So we believe we need that, and it is no longer just paisa banana. No, paisa you can always make, but we will do it in an area which will make India strong, make India Atmanirbhar.
On your capacity as ambassador, in so many countries, we can harness our export potential basically. And recently, though India has been very reluctant initially, it's only beginning to establish a defense attaché, which will help our Indian equipment sell abroad or sort of market abroad. How do you think these things can be worked out and make Indian defense ecosystem a sustainable proposition? As ambassador, how viable this option is, and how we should harness this?
We had defense attaches earlier too, but not too many. We had only in places where we had acquisition of equipment and all that. But the defense attache's job was merely to see that the acquisition takes place, all those logistics. But today the focus is different. They will actively look for partners, for technology, actively cooperate with other members of the embassy. Because let me tell you, buying and selling of defense equipment is not like buying potatoes or eggs. You will not sell or buy a technology in defense unless there is some faith and trust. And that is very important. This trust that we can supply you or we can buy from you some equipment which will make a difference to our national survival is something very important. And I think India is emerging as a power. As I told you, it's already a nuclear power, it's a space power, and we are going to be a military power. I have no hesitation in saying that. And it may seem, hey, he's very aggressive, but no. The world respects a strong country. And there's no reason why we should be shy. We have a long, glorious history. The 1.3 billion people. We have shown what we can do when you have to do something. And I think that is the right way to progress. And our defense attaches, therefore, can play a key role in spreading awareness of India's capabilities, about the type of equipment we have, weapons we have, and what we need, and what partners we need, and what partners we engage. I was involved as part of my job somewhere in military training. And these are very interesting things. The friendship you make at that time are very strong friendship bonds. And I think our defense attaches can play a role in strengthening our diplomatic intercourse.
And coming back to towards the end of the discussion, your stint in Africa is very important. I have been meeting and discussing a lot of ambassadors from Africa who posted in India. I see India's outreach to Africa is very important, and also crucial to reach out and engage much more with Africa. But so far, I would like to understand from you. We have just Exim Bank is the one key financial institution which help invest in Africa from Indian side. How can India scale up and engage more in Africa in terms of as a development partner, or say in terms of further investment in many areas? Where do you see we are lacking? Because as far as some data is concerned, our investment is not going up in Africa.
Yeah. Okay. I think Africa is a continent which is coming up because it's rich in resources, and those countries today are keen to develop very rapidly. And they see in India a model of growth which is peaceful, which is democratic, which is people-oriented. By the way, let me tell you that there are our competitors in China who have of course got access, but their model is not the right one. An authoritarian model, a secretive model, and all those. Ours has been throughout, right from our Independence Day. India has been a model, especially because we were very poor at the start, and we had all sorts of problems. Yet we have overcome. What India has done in the last 70 years is dramatic, pulling billion people out of poverty, and doing it peacefully. There was no large-scale famine. India was only known as the land of famine and all that. Yet today we are exporting food, we are exporting everything, and we are trying to improve our agriculture. And I've been involved with what's called Team 9, Techno-Economic Approach for African Development, where the African partners see India as a partner. This is called Team 9. It's a teamwork. We are not selling to them. We're doing it together with them for their development and our development. Number two, there is no superiority. We tell them we can learn from our success and avoid a mistake. We have made mistakes. You don't have to do that. So it has been a teamwork. And India-Africa Forum Summit is an example of that idea that India and Africa can share their expertise and experience and do things for both India and Africa. And I have seen this happen. I was Indian ambassador in Senegal. I don't want to sound immodest, but today Senegal, which used to produce earlier 80,000 tons of rice, today it produces 8 lakh tons of rice, thanks to Indian technology, Indian help, Indian companies. And these companies are not just government, but also private sector companies. And the reason why I'm stressing is that Indian private sector today is admired. They have a global role, not just in India. They have a global role thanks to our liberalization and globalization, privatization policies. It is working, and I think it will help in this.
It's a good note, and here Ambassador Balkrishna Shetty, a man who is a helm of bringing some quality transformation in the Indian defense system. An ecosystem is bringing technology. He's also establishing center of excellence, which is much required in this country, bringing private players, academia, and research institution together. Thank you very much, Ambassador Shetty, talking with Manish Kumar Jha, Business World. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good day to you.